Platform games are a dime a dozen on the App Store. They're relatively easy to make, but they're hard to make well. The challenge that developers face is making their games stand out and putting a modern twist on a genre that dates back to the golden age of arcade gaming in the early 80s. Roll Back Home, a 2D physics platform game from Slovenian indie developer Dawn of Play, goes a long way to meeting this challenge. The concept here is simple: roll and bounce a lost ball through a hazardous maze of underground sewers as you head for home. Tilting to the left and right causes the ball to roll in that direction, gaining momentum as it goes, while tilting the screen away sets it bouncing. The game features 36 levels. As you progress, there are new hazards to navigate and new mechanics to get to grips with. The levels get bigger and increasingly challenging, but thankfully there are liberally scattered checkpoints in carefully considered locations, almost always after you've successfully completed a particularly challenging area. From a conceptual point of view, everything I've mentioned so far is fairly standard for this type of game, so what sets Roll Back Home apart? To start with, there's the enchanting black and white, hand-sketched flipbook art style. It really is flawless, and it adds a fine level of detail to the environments without becoming a distraction. This alone makes the game a worthy addition to the App Store. On top of this, the game layers decent physics. Not the best you'll find, but more than acceptable. The ball has a satisfying squishiness about it that gives it both charm and a sense of character. Rounding all of this off is the strange but somehow fitting selection of electronic music that accompanies your adventure. It shouldn't work, but it does. It's hard to find fault with any of the game's presentation. There are a few niggling problems though. The tilt to bounce control is at best inconsistent. Thoughtfully, the developers have included an option to turn this off, allowing you to opt for a far more effective tap to bounce system. It still doesn't perform quite as well as you'd hope, but it suffices. Another issue is that you often run into hazards without any advanced warning. It's something that any platform game creator needs to be mindful of, penalising the player for something they had no way of anticipating or responding to. Without the frequent checkpoints, this would be much more of a problem. Finally, although uncommon, it is possible to trap the ball, preventing progress and forcing you to start a level from scratch. Thankfully, this doesn't happen frequently, but it is something to be aware of. Usually, I'm the first to dismiss a game for being all style and no substance, especially where it's obvious that poor gameplay lies just beneath a shiny exterior. In the case of Roll Back Home, I don't think this is the case. The game is more than adequate, and the impressive presentation simply builds on this. Some minor problems don't stop this being an enjoyable game, and yes, it can be frustrating at times, but this frustration is mirrored by the sense of achievement that comes on completion of a particularly challenging section. I'm giving it a solid 7.5, a good effort, well worth playing, with some room for improvement. Roll Back Home was released on the 20th of March and is available in the App Store now for £1.49 or $1.99 in the US. As ever, I'd like to know if you've played the game and what you think. Don't be afraid to use the comment section to leave your thoughts.